The wheels of government are turning, but very slowly this morning. We have a skeleton crew here. It doesn't appear that we're going to have a quorum to pass bills out today, but we will satisfy all public hearings, take questions and public comment. There are sign-up sheets to come and please sign up if you are in favor or in opposition to any of the board bills that are on the agenda. And to stand on ceremony, I'm going to hear from non-committee aldermen that are here in terms of seniority. There are also a handful of aldermen that want their bills heard today that are not going to be able to be here to introduce them, so we'll hold those for the end, introduce them, take public comment, and hear and questions on those. And then the hope is early next week we'll reconvene and try to pass all these bills out, but we'll satisfy public hearings today and get them back in the legislative agenda for next Friday for the full board meeting. All right, so let's start with Alderman Vollmer. You have, I'm sorry?
I'll call the roll.
Oh, I'm sorry, let's do roll, yeah. God, let's take care of house cleaning first.
Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderwoman Murphy, Alderwoman Spencer,
Present.
Alderman Gunther,
Here.
Alderman Oldenburg,
Present.
Chairman Cone. 4 present.
Okay, Alderman, you have 3 bills. We'll just take them one at a time, so proceed at your leisure.
All right, we have, I believe, Board Bill 205 is the first of them. And we have 2 for, there's some
I think
paperwork.
we have
Sharina.
handouts.
There's some handouts there from
Perfect.
the wonderful Mr. Zachary. All right, Board Bill 205 is 1929 Edward Street in the Hill neighborhood. There was a house that you see in the picture, an old house that was purchased, being torn down. Okay, I'm sorry, yeah, you have it behind there. Oh, there's actually 2 addresses. They're being efficient using both sides of the paper here. I'm sorry, I kept looking for it somewhere. So we have 1929 Edwards and 5210 Daggett. Pagano Land Development is doing both of these projects. 1929 was a house purchased for $125,000 to be torn down to build a new home at a construction cost of $404,906. The requested, or the recommended tax abatement from SLDC is 5 years at 36% on the improvements for that one. Flipped over, we have another Pagano house purchased for $57,000 to be torn down. A new home to be built at $417,000. Proposed sale of $554,000. Again, 5 years at 36% on the improvements. We can entertain questions on either one of the addresses.
Okay, members of the committee will go in seniority. Alderwoman Murphy, any questions on Board Bill 205?
Yes, on the one at 5210 Daggett, that's was a storefront of some sort, I take it, and they want to demolish it?
Yeah, well, it looked like it was a storefront way back when I was a little kid.
Sure.
But it had been used as a residential property. You'll find a lot of that on the Hill. You'll find even restaurants such as Antonino's and John Tony's, quite famous, that are zoned a single-family residential with a non-conforming use. The alderman back in the 60s, when the Interstate 44 was coming by, deemed it best to put everything a residential to have control over anything. Back in the 60s, you could do things like that. But most of the businesses on the Hill did start as homes. This was a home that they built out the front of way back when to put a family business in.
Yeah.
I think it was a confectionery. I'm not sure. I was just a little kid when they started changing that over.
And then on 1929 Edwards, they're going to tear down that house. They bought both lots, I take it?
Yeah, it's a double lot. There has never been since I've been alive over there, a house on the
other
north.
side, yes.
What is to the south there is Lorenzo's Restaurant, if you're trying to get your bearings there.
Okay.
So you're right at Edwards, and that is Daggett Avenue would be the closest intersection. Shaw would be the next street to the north.
Sure, sure. No, okay, that's all. I just was trying to get my bearings
Sure.
about it.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderwoman Spencer, any
5
questions?
years for
Thank you,
36.
Mr. Chairman. I guess my question is this number 36, by way of percentage?
Well, we are going by the map that has been designed for projects under $1 million.
But it's an odd number.
Yes.
Perhaps. It's
Matt Bauer, SLDC.
six squared.
If anybody remembers the discussion over the map, the map, it's in the area of the 5-year at 50%. The value of these, or the prospective value of these homes is, we had set a cap at like it was like 90% of the conforming loan limit, which is about $405,000. The anticipated sale price of these homes is above that cap, so that 36% basically makes the cap.
Gotcha.
So it's in the 50% area, but because the anticipated sale value of the home is above the cap, we adjusted the abatement percentage down.
And the abatement is required to see this proposal, this project. This is one of those make or break it deals. The $13,000 in tax abatement is what's kicking this project in gear.
It's that's what's described as part of the map, so that's the policy we're following.
Gotcha. Okay. And was this project started before we developed?
It has been started. It was actually when there was no map in place. I talked to the folks, and it was pretty much kind of stalled when they discovered the rebirth of the map. That has incurred this. It's, I believe you stated a couple of meetings ago when I had another project going through this. The map does help because it takes it off of our hands. I'm not trying to push through the most tax abatement I can get for this. Pagano Development, which is doing two of the other bills I have, two of the other projects I have in the next bill before you also, is investing a lot into the neighborhood, and these tax abatements do help him keep that going on. He's done, I believe, 6 in the past few years. And these are 4 more, and I believe he has some more coming down the pipeline. So he's a company that wants to reinvest in the area. He's tearing down what are some very, very old, and if you've been through my neighborhood, it's a wonderful neighborhood on the hill in my ward, but a lot of the housing was built before there was codes. You'll find when you tear these houses down that newspaper is the insulation. In the walls, you'll see that there are ceilings that are 7 foot maybe, or 6 foot in the basement in most of these places, because they're uninhabitable for people of this day, where we didn't mind having 8 people sleeping in a 3-room house. Now they need, an 8-room house for 3 people to live in. So it's just the market trending and what we're trying to appeal to.
Well, 6-foot headspace works for some people.
Actually, it worked for most of the people who lived in the neighborhood back then.
But it's a Spencer household quite nicely. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Gunther.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question was essentially the same as Alderwoman Spencer's. So because it's above, it's over $500,000 house, then...
Yeah, we're going by the guidelines put forth.
Okay.
And
then I guess my other question is 1929 Edwards. They're using that the vacant lot part, looks like, to put a 2-car drive-in garage.
The garage is an attached garage to the building, and there is a room behind it. We don't have the overall plan, but there are rooms behind it as you look at it. But yeah, it's 2-car garages are hard to find in this neighborhood, and there was a curb cut there already.
Okay.
Because curb cuts are almost impossible to get these days, but there was a driveway there for a curb cut, because they actually used to if you see the gates there, in the old days, they used to pull wagons into there. This was built before there was automobiles. So I forget if he was the Iceman or the, what he delivered, but that was for his horse and buggy to go in there.
All right. No more questions?
Any questions? Is there anyone here in support or opposition to the bill that signed up? Board Bill 205? Going once, sold. All right, Alderman, that bill's been heard. We can move to the next one for you, 206.
206, again, we have a conservative use of paper, so there are pictures on both sides. 1, 2, 3. Take care of it, Sharita. Thank you, dear. Board Bill 206, 5126 Daggett Avenue. Again, Pagano Development, buying what was an old shotgun house for $56,000, building a new home at $281,000 with a pro sale price of $372,000. This is a 5-year at 50%, as it did match what the map was putting out. On the back page is 5135 Daggett, which is across the street from this, which was basically an apartment building, an old building that was purchased for $159,000. The construction cost is $568,000. Now, this is 2 townhomes selling for $399,000 each. And this fit the mode for the 5-year at 50%. Again, this actually was a house with a house behind the house, which is common. They would build a building up front, and then as the cousins came over, they would just build a house in the backyard. So that,
Going. Okay, we can entertain questions on 206. Alderwoman Murphy, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman Spencer.
Thank you. So this is a demo, we're going to take this,
yeah, everything is for tear down. These buildings are,
so if you don't mind, so these are great-looking historic sound structures, and we're putting these sort of unfortunately suburban-looking buildings in their place. I mean, I would kill to have a building of this stature and stability
well,
in any street.
it was actually condemned.
Well, I mean, so
Yeah,
are half the buildings in my
Well,
neighborhood.
but I mean, as far as it was a very, having lived there and grown up around it, actually, I lived a few doors down, and then my in-laws owned the house a few doors down from that. It was where their grandpa built in 1890 to come. It was a house that might look good in this picture.
Okay.
But it was
'Cause it
a
is just-
disaster. If you look at the back page, it was just, they kept adding on and adding on and adding on and adding on. And believe me, if there are homes up there that we, as a neighborhood organization with Hill 2000 work with, that we do not want to see torn down. We do not have an historic district on the Hill, but some of it is much ragtag construction. And if you physically walk through or see some of these places, you'll be walking on floors that are, have a 8% lean to the left or right. When it came time to do things, they just did it any way they wanted. God bless them, they're hardworking, industrious people.
There's a lot of people that lean to the left.
Well,
Quite a few that lean to the right.
I'm talking physically, not socially or politically.
Okay, but doesn't mean we got off them. But the construction, the style and everything just doesn't, I mean, is this something that's gone through cultural resources? It just
Yes.
look a little bit out of place for our great old historic city here, and especially a neighborhood like the Hill where it's largely historically intact and.
To a certain point, but there, again, we are not a historic district over there. There's no preservation district in the Hill. As far as going through, typically the brick buildings are the ones that they've, when we've come down to tear down in this neighborhood, that architecture and other people fight for. But some of these frame structures are, when you're one-on-one within 3 feet looking up at it, you're going, how did people ever live in this thing?
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Alderman Gunther.
So you say you don't have a local historic district?
No.
So nothing that goes through cultural resources there? but
Typically,
you
no.
said that-
In the past 16 years there, the things that have been fought for have been by outside sources not wanting to see, brick structures torn down. We've actually done that when Favaz's up at top, when they added their patio, there was a building next to them there. They wanted actually to tear both of them down. We compromised. They only tore one down, left the other one intact. So it's been a process, but typically these frame houses that were built, most of them right after the World's Fair, with wood that was taken from the buildings, actually some taken out of the fires when they were burning the lumber to build these. When I put a room addition on my house, it looked like there had been a fire, but I was informed by the family that owned it before that their grandfather had gone over to Forest Park and pulled wood out of the fire as they were burning things with his horse and buggy and drove it back and put the addition on my house. There used to be a company called Marlowe Coil in the neighborhood. When my garage was built, I looked and it was built with nothing but packing crates and things from Marlowe Coil because it was stamped on everything. They would just take every piece of wood home until they had enough and build something. So while I appreciate the historic value of some of these things, some of them are just uninhabitable. It's just, it was part of the culture and history of the neighborhood that these people would do anything to save a dime. They were poor, hardworking, but they have created a neighborhood that is one of the most sought after and desirable to live in because of their culture, not so much for their architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, their food and cultures. People come to see them and talk to them and eat and drink, but some of the homes are, God bless them, they just weren't built that well.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at I've been looking at all four of these properties, the two on this bill and the two on the last bill, and yeah, they're really some neat architecturally historic buildings that are, it's kind of a shame that they're coming down to build $500,000
Yeah, they're
kind of cul-de-sac looking houses, so, but that's what the neighborhood wants? So.
Yeah, the neighborhood has, these have all gone through and been vetted through the Hill 2000, actually also the Hill Business Association. When it goes through the neighborhood over there, they go through everything. This all have been presented to the Hill 2000 board.
Okay, no further question.
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing no other questions, is there anyone in the audience here to speak in support of opposition? Board Bill 206. Anyone? Sold. All right, Alderman, your last one, 218, we can take up to here.
218 is not by Mr. Pagano, and it's not on the Hill. It is in the Southwest Garden neighborhood, which is just south of the Hill area. This is actually the developer, Vince and Nancy LaRusso, building a home for their daughter to move into. Purchased for $72,000. Construction cost of $100,000 plus. It's 2.5 commercial units. And this is, again, according to the map, being done at 5 years at 50%. And this is not a tear down, I believe it is a construction only. They're redoing, they're putting, if you look at the drawing, they're putting dormers on top of the existing structure and rearranging it all.
Questions of the committee. Alderwoman Murphy.
So they're going to make 3 one-bedroom apartments, and the daughter's going to live in one of them, I take
I'm
it?
sorry,
Yeah,
2.5 commercial units is a typo.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a
Three-bedroom.
three-bedroom house.
I
We're
get
trying
you.
to-
Okay, that was going to be my
As
question.
I was reading it,
Okay,
yeah.
I was good, that explains it. So there, but you say it's not going to be torn down, it's going to be
No,
rehabbed,
the house
so to
there is
speak.
being added onto, and it's for her as a single-family residence. As I was reading it, Zach might have felt his mind burning as I was reading it.
Yeah. I bet my daughter wishes she was related to those LaRussos, but she's not.
Well, it's
No more
actually-
questions.
It's his brother that owns a restaurant.
Someone wrote it out. Our staff.
That was my question.
No further questions? Sure. Alderwoman Spencer, any questions on Board Bill 218?
No questions.
Questions? Alderman Gunther.
No questions.
Questions for Alderman Gunther? None from me. That bill will be heard. Anyone here speaking in support of opposition to Board Bill 218? The audience?
All right.
Hearing none. All right, we'll consider these bills publicly heard. Alderman, I'll get with Chairman Cohen, and we'll figure out when we're going to get a new committee hearing or a new committee scheduled so we can pass these bills out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the board. Thank you, Sharita.
Thanks, Alderman. Okay. Sticking with Alderman not on the committee, but with seniority, I saw Alderman Rhodey came in, so we'll hear Board Bill 210. Alderman, we don't have a quorum today, so we're just satisfying public hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is for a project in the Forest Park Southeast neighborhood. It is south of Manchester and is in a small portion of Forest Park Southeast that is still eligible for a bit of tax abatement. So according to the map, it is I guess an area G, but anyway, it's whatever the color is. I thought we did colors on those things, but it's eligible for 5 years at 50%. Yep. We have a neighborhood approval process that all of these things go through, and it's all subject to the form-based code that we've established for the area. It's been endorsed by the group that monitors or oversees the form-based code, which is through Park Central Development, which our chairman actually served as an intern for one of its predecessor organizations some years ago. How many years ago? I'm sorry, you're the chairman. I shouldn't be asking questions.
Been about 13 or 14 years.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
You don't need to step down from this one?
No, I don't think so. Okay, that sounds it. We'll take some questions from the committee for sure. Alderwoman Murphy, any questions on Board Bill 210?
Looking at the picture, there's going to be it looks like 4 townhouses down there. I like the looks of the front of them. Does it look like 4, or is it one continuous building? I guess it's one. One building, okay.
Where's that? Is that one?
Yeah, it's one building with townhouse, okay. It looks nice. It looks better than what's there right now, so. That's all. I was just wondering if it's one building, but I guess it is. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Spencer. Questions? Alderman Gunther.
So this is, one is just directly south of Manchester?
That's correct.
Okay.
Kind of the southwest quadrant of the neighborhood. Let's see what 100 blocks one that is on. Yeah, it's kind of the southwest quadrant of that, the Forest Park Southeast neighborhood. So it's probably the weakest quadrant from the standpoint of market values and everything.
Gotcha. Just trying to check up the map here because you're right on that boundary of the no abatement versus 5-year. You got this one has a little nook of that corner of the 17th there. So, okay. No questions. And this was 5 years at 50% was recommended by?
5 and 50%.
It's recommended
yeah,
by?
that was what was recommended, wasn't it?
Okay. No questions.
Great. No questions from the chairman. Does anyone here in support or opposition in the audience of Board Bill 210? Right. Hearing none, we'll consider this bill heard. Thank you, Alderman.
Did you realize that? So, what's that? Thank you. Did not support these. It's not back here, but we'll take it up for a
Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right. Are there any? Okay. We're going to go with aldermen that are here to here. Next in seniority would be, I believe, Alderwoman Ingrassia for Bill 208 is being heard today.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for taking some time with me this morning. I'm here on Board Bill 208, which is part of the an extension of the Jefferson Connector project. So I've been doing a lot of work in the Midtown area and some buildings that have been vacant, some larger buildings that have been vacant for quite a long time. So I have the developer here. If you have specific questions, but this construction project will turn into 7 apartments, 2 retail spaces, 5 live-work spaces, and 22,000 square feet of office space. It's in the the Midtown neighborhood, and we are asking for 10 years at 90%. We've had other portions of this come through at varying amounts and worked with SLDC and our financial analysts at the board to come up with this amount percentage-wise in a number of years. I'm happy to take questions, and I also have, as I mentioned, Jason Johnson here, who is the developer on the project.
Great. Questions from the committee? Alderwoman Murphy.
Yes, Alderwoman, you got 2 buildings here. You're doing both of them? I mean, they're both
Yes.
being rehabbed, I take it? Nothing's
correct.
coming down? Okay.
Yep, no demolition.
No demolition, they're both coming down. And so they're going to basically look the same when we're finished. I like the top building a lot. The bottom building's got that mid-century modern look about it. Nothing against that, though, of course, because I am that. But is that facade changing at all? I guess not.
No, the 2-story buildings actually does not qualify for tax credits, and the 5-story does. The 2-story actually, all of it will look pretty much exactly the same.
Like that one?
Everything will be
I like the
replaced
top picture,
with the
yeah.
same details, even though it's
Okay.
not historic, as you see now. So the bones are great, but it just needs to be completely gut rehabbed.
Okay, I see it now. The bottom picture's the same, it just looks different. Okay.
Sunny.
Okay, thank you, no more questions.
Alderwoman Spencer, any questions?
It's interesting.
No questions at this time.
Alderman Gunther.
I'm just trying to get my coordinates here. So this is Locust, this is like the block directly east or directly west of Jefferson?
Correct. This is adjacent to the shipping container retail village and the proposed hotel that we're working on.
Okay. So that, the MVA area, I know that because it's over $1 million, it doesn't meet our nice little map structure here, but with the MVA being B from before, that's pretty much a stable area, good, property values, good development happening. So how did you come up with the 10 years at 90%?
I think this would fall in as an exception underneath the map that we created, and the developer can speak more specifically about the challenges of the buildings. And I think that we are making progress, but there are still a lot of very large buildings that have been left vacant for a number of years that are challenged financially to undertake.
Like all of downtown, all of Midtown.
I don't think all of downtown would qualify, but I think large portions of Midtown, absolutely. This is, with the Jefferson Connector project, the first time in the 5 years I've been down here that we're moving these buildings. There have been a number of failed developments on them.
Yeah, it's a perfect example. The building across the street's a 100,000 square foot building, and we are the 5th developer on trying to get it accomplished. But with spending, $50-some million on trying to bring all of these projects up at the same time, or relatively the same time, part of the reason why I'm here before you with this particular project is the gentleman has been trying to get this project done for the last 6 years, and has been unable to do that. With us trying to spend multi-millions of dollars around it, we can't have the project looking like this and feel comfortable with additional investment. So we've taken on this project to help him maneuver through the tax credits and getting, through the abatement process and all these other things in order to try to get this project to be financially viable, all the way down to having to find a tenant for the 2-story portion of this building in order for this thing to work fiscally. So it's an important kind of linchpin on moving some of the rest of the pieces forward. As you can, surmise, again, the building's a cool building, but it's in major disrepair, so it definitely needs to be redeveloped as part of this overall project.
I see the bottom.
Okay.
Now I see.
Yeah, now I'm looking at it, it's right behind the AT&T building here. So,
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think, we were in HUD yesterday and passed out a project as an extension of the Jefferson Connector, 5 years at 90%. So we are trying to be very mindful and deliberate about the level of incentive we're asking for and delivering.
it's a lot of abatement. But no further questions at the moment.
Thank you, Alderman. Is anyone here in support or opposition of this bill, Board Bill 208, in the audience? No? We'll consider this bill heard. Thank you, guys. Alderman will be in touch when we're meeting as soon as we can.
I can't wait. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate that. Nor can I.
Are you going to do, Christie, are you going to do your other bill? You have another bill. Okay. I just could say,
Is
you have another one.
Alderwoman Navarro still here? She is hiding back over there.
83. They keep-
Alderman will take up Board Bill 221.
Okay, I get you. I surprised you're not doing both.
Good morning. Thank you. Board Bill 221 regards new construction in the DeBoliver Place neighborhood. And DeBoliver Place is, are you ready? I'm sorry.
Yeah, please,
Okay,
proceed.
great,
That's
okay.
all right.
So the DeBoliver Place neighborhood is a neighborhood that is just north of Forest Park. It is west of the Central West End. It's in between the Central West End and Skinker DeBoliver, essentially just south of Del Mar. And the lot that this project is proposed for has been vacant since about the early 70s. So for about 4 decades, the challenges to this site have just proven to not be amenable to construction. So what is being proposed is a 149-unit apartment building, and I do have the developer here with me today, but I just want to give you a little bit of background on what this project looks like. So this project does have the neighborhood, the Bolivar Place neighborhood. If you haven't been there, there are several apartment buildings. There is a commercial strip that is largely struggling. There's a lot of vacant retail in that area. So there's a lot of potential to expand some of the growth that we're seeing in some of the surrounding neighborhoods into this area. So there will be apartments here. There's going to be, part of what also makes this challenging is they are doing a 2-story underground parking garage, and the benefit to this is we're not putting in a surface parking lot. They are going the extra mile to put in underground parking. The other thing here, there's some sewer issues that have made it challenging. At one point, there was a swimming pool on this lot, and the sewer infrastructure went around where that pool was. The pool is gone, but the infrastructure is still there. And so in order for any sort of development to happen on this property, that has to be addressed as well. So this did score 4.75 stars out of 5, and I'm happy to have SLDC, someone present, if you have any questions on that. The one thing I do want to mention, in full disclosure, this did go to the Planning Commission. Unfortunately, because of the holidays, I wasn't able to be there, the developer wasn't able to be there to have any conversation about the blighting report. So it was voted down, but we are going back to them in February to be able to fully present. So I just want to mention that because it does say in there that we went to the Planning Commission, but we will be going back to them in February. And I'm happy to provide more. It's 38 studio units, 79 one-bedrooms, 25 two-bedrooms, 7 three-bedrooms. Those are kind of the high-level details. And like I said, the developer's here, who's happy to answer any additional questions.
Okay, we'll roll through questions. Alderwoman Murphy.
What's there now?
Right now, it's a surface parking lot.
Okay, 'cause I was trying to picture, there's nothing there right now. Okay.
Right, there's not been a structure other than, like I said, there was a tennis court for a little while, and there was a pool at one point, but right now, it's all the surface parking lot. It was a staging area for another construction project at one point.
And these will all be rental units?
Yes.
All right, okay. No condos, no
Correct.
purchase, okay. Thank you, that's all right now.
Alderwoman Spencer, questions?
Will there be commercial, how much commercial space?
There's no commercial space.
There's 0 commercial space, 100% residential. Got it. That's all I have.
Good. Alderman Gunther.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I guess I will, just because the last bill that came up, I made a point of being MVA B. This one is MVA A. which, again, I think we've been trying to work on gearing back some incentives, so the 10 years at 85%, and it seems like a very large abatement for this project, but it's a big project. So you said there's two floors of underground parking on this, so.
Correct.
Because the rendering here kind of looks like it's the first 2 floors, like this area right in the center. What is that area right in the renderings? Maybe Mr. Sweeney can answer this?
Let me see what you're looking at. And could I just address regarding the MVA? So the map that we're using in terms of what parts of the city and determine what sort of abatements, that is for residential projects under $1 million. And so this project is not within the scope of that. So I just wanted to point that out. Let's see, you're looking at, I believe
So you
that's a
have 2
court. Oh, you're
towers?
looking at this part that's kind of what the
like a
crisscross.
courtyard?
That's a courtyard.
Okay. It looks like a courtyard on the 3rd floor, because I can see like little tents up there, but then the first 2 floors, that's not parking, or is that like entrance to parking?
Let me, which,
I think it's half and half, I think.
which page
Just look at the
is he looking at?
picture.
Oh, you're just looking at the picture.
Just the rendering,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, yeah, so the parking, well, I don't, do you want to talk more specifically about the
Dave Sweeney,
architecture?
attorney for the developer. Definitely not the developer, I wish. All of that has, there's 2 floors underneath, two stories underneath the actual building. There'll be on the 1st floor, half of it will front up, kind of like the current building that's across the street, with parking, but also with the lobby, amenities.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Dave.
And then, can you explain a little bit about, we had talked about this before, but you said that it was denied by the Planning Commission, but that was because no one was there to represent it, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then, from other conversations, there were the need for the 10 years at 85% was because of some sewer issues, and they have to put a new trunk sewer.
Well, so the big thing, so providing parking in the neighborhood is something that I've talked to a lot of the neighbors, the residents about, and so that's part of what makes this, I mean, you can, the numbers here for the parking, I mean, it's pretty expensive to do the underground parking, so they're going to do 145 spaces, and it's about 2.9 million just to do that parking, and then to address the sewer issues that are there, and they will be doing some upgrades. There's some sewer lines there that service some other condos in the neighborhood, and those will be upgraded through this project.
Okay. All right, no further questions. Thank you.
No further questions other than, well, actually, I take that back. You said it is your desire to go back to the Planning Commission with this?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, perfect. Is there anyone here in support or opposition to Board Bill 221? Signed up to speak? Excellent, nobody. We'll consider this bill heard. Thank you, Alderwoman.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that takes care of everyone that's here. So now we're going to introduce the aldermen who couldn't make it but would like their bills heard as well. So I would like maybe SLDC, I'm sorry? Yeah, we're going to wait till the end, sorry, for committee members.
We're trying to leave.
To the very end. If that's okay. 10:15? Okay, well, we'll accommodate you then next. So if someone from SLDC and the representatives for Board Bill 220 could approach the dais, it'd be great. If we could, we'll get handouts out. This bill is being introduced by President Reed because I believe it's in the 26th ward, whereby we have a vacancy from an alderman.
That's my
Does yours have a
Oh, well, you can have it.
board bill number on it?
Which one?
President Reed's?
It's 220, it should.
10-year.
Oh, we have a meeting in a while.
Don Delmar, brother. Thank you so much.
Those are incorrect.
Okay.
I could have grilled you. You know.
Good morning.
Good morning. State who you are. For purposes of introduction, consider this bill introduced by me, but the backdrop and everything else will come from SLDC and/or the agents of the owner-developer.
I'm Amina Wright with St. Louis Development, and I'm introducing Board Bill 220. This is at 5467 through 55 Delmar. It straddles both the West End and the Visitation Park neighborhood at the intersection of Delmar and Belt. The developer here is Clayco Realty. This is the former St. Luke's Hospital, also known as Connect Care. The developer would like to take this property and renovate it to a mixed-use building. Their estimated construction costs are $67 million. There will be residential space as well as commercial space over 2 phases for the project. The model supports 15 years of tax abatement at 95%. And we also have the developer here if you have any questions.
Great. We can have the developer close to the dais or an agent. We'll have committee questions. Alderwoman Murphy.
The building is not in use now at all, or is Connect Care using it?
No, it's not.
It's vacant now. And is this project going to utilize the entire structures that are there, or is there going to be any demolition or anything?
I'm Craig Eller with CRG, but there's a small portion right along Delmar that was added in the 90s it's a one-story that will be removed, but the majority of the property, the historic portions, will be retained and rehabbed.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Alderwoman Spencer?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Alderman Gunther?
So my question is here, I know about this project, I think it's a great project, but I'm wondering on the back here on your, says 30-year return on investment to the city, it's a negative 24% investment. I guess this would be an SLDC question.
The negative. You're speaking of the 30-year...
30-year return on investment?
Yeah.
So like
Jonathan, maybe do you want to? Yeah.
So how does that financially work?
What's that?
It's a negative return on investment for them or for the city?
Yeah, so what that's doing is it's looking at this amount of land that's being used in the project, and it's sort of comparing it to similar type of uses. In this case, it's using we use the land use code of institutional preservation, which basically is like schools and hospitals and things of that nature. So, it is a very large site, but what that's saying is that sort of the model would say that we need to have sort of to be sustainable over a 30-year period about $21.3 million. The average commercial property in the city would also generate about $21.3 million. The reason why it's still able to get a passing score is because the model takes into account if it's a historic structure, and it also takes into account a couple of things like the MVA, which sort of give an indication as to whether or not a project is able to basically what it does is it gives more, whenever there's more distress in an area, it gives more weight to the fact that there's going to be any revenue coming off of it, as opposed to doesn't hit the exact target necessarily. So in this case, what the model is showing is that the reason it passes is because the distress would indicate that there's not very high probability that there's going to be any other revenue coming off of this if this project doesn't happen.
Okay, all right, yeah. That's an excellent explanation.
Precise, too.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm familiar with the project and I support the project, but I was just wondering how that negative return to the city happened, so, okay, thank you.
Okay. I have no questions. Is anyone here? Yeah.
Just going back to
Come back to you, Alderwoman, by all means.
My question is about these stars. Why are we still using them? Is this a .75 out of 5, or is this a?
It's 3.75 out of 5.
Is there a way that we could introduce the 3 in a number form rather than a star form?
Yeah, no, that's
Or
not.
just, it's so confusing.
Yeah, the real score is actually the number out of
We're getting used to it, but
40.
it's very counterintuitive.
31.
Yeah,
And
it's
for
the,
documentation, I mean, the general public's looking at this saying, what is the real score on this? And it's not abundantly clear that it's getting a good score. It looks like .75 out of 5. There's some empty stars hanging out there. If we're going to say this is a good project that is worthy of our support, let's make sure that the public can see that SLDC supports it. If we don't.
yeah, the real score is, that's just sort of a visual for the score. The real score is the out of 40 number, the
Keep the stars.
31.8 out of 40. That's what the model is actually calculating. And on that number, sort of like the passing level would be, I believe 28 is 3.5. 28 is equivalent to 3.5. 32 is equivalent to 4 out of 5. 36 would be 4.5. 40 would be 5.
The scoring system could use some,
Yeah.
really needs some work. Just, the purpose of these meetings is for the public to understand the due diligence the city has conducted to ensure that these are good projects for the taxpayer. So let's make sure that we make that clear. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's as simple as.
And John, this isn't to
just
diminish the
replacing
work you do, because, I do appreciate this. but
Yeah, I
that
mean,
is
if it's
a
as simple as
really
just replacing the 3 stars with a number 3, I mean, that's
3.7.
not hard.
Yeah.
I
Appreciate
could
it.
do that.
Thanks. All right, thank you. I do appreciate it, John.
Good point. Is there anyone here in support or opposition? I might have asked that of this. Not? Okay, we'll consider this bill heard, and we'll be in touch with the development team and President Reed on when we reschedule to pass these out. Thanks, guys. By all means, Alderwoman, it's your meeting. We will now hear Board Bill 209 from Alderwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the committee members. I have Board Bill 209. It comes before you with no stars. You have no stars associated with this board bill, but it is still a good project.
Got a handout? There we go. There we go.
Okay. Board Bill 209 is a simple tax abatement on 3535 Michigan. This project was recommended by SLDC. It is a 4-apartment, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's a 4-family flat, obviously. This is in an area with an MVA of F, an area that is seeing some new investments, but certainly has a long way to go. We're happy about this development here on this block being a 4-family development, because obviously it was built as a 4-family unit, and it's been vacant for some time. So we're looking at the SLDC recommendation that fits in well with the map and the MVA analysis of 10 years at 95%, which carries a total value of $28,000 for the 10 years. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Great. Questions from the committee. Alderwoman Murphy.
No, it looks very good.
Looks older than me.
Yeah, I just want to go on record that I do like stars as being a farmer teacher. I understand your point, but I do appreciate stars, but perhaps we should keep them in the classroom.
I love stars. What would be great is if we went with a method that was either entirely numeric or entirely star-driven. So the problem I have is with the 3 whole stars and the .75 being in a numeric fashion. So it's not consistent. So either we do 3 3/4 actual stars, in which case I can understand that that's what the score is, or I do a 3.75 in numbers, and then I have some idea. But when you look at it, you see the 3 stars and the .75, it's a mixed bag.
I hear you. Rid of the stars.
All right.
No more questions. It looks like a wonderful idea. I like it.
But.
Maybe we gave thumbs ups.
Mrs. Murphy, I
Thumbs up.
appreciate your
I
support of the
just wanted
stars.
to,
each
wanted to
their
go
own.
on record for that.
Yes.
That's all.
Great.
So noted. Alderman Gunther, questions?
I think this looks like a great project. I'm familiar with this block of Michigan, and yeah, put the buildings back to, put some occupants in them. Good job.
Alderwoman, have you worked with this developer? Have they done stuff in your area before?
You know, I have not. And so the relationship with this particular developer is something that I'm going on by recommendation of SLDC, who's recommending that we work with them. But I have not.
Has SLDC, have they done other projects in the city that we're aware of?
Not through us, but they got a couple more applications coming in, so this will be our first one.
Great. Sounds like an opportunity for a new relationship. It's great.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, do you have a relationship with the
I
developer?
do
or
not. I do
Is
not.
there?
That's
Okay.
why I asked. It's,
Yep, this is the first one we're doing, and I'm happy to give him a try.
Sure.
And
It's good. This is a good project. Congratulations, Alderwoman. Anyone here in support or opposition? Not? Consider this bill heard as well. Thank you, Alderwoman. Next, if someone from SLDC can just sort of help facilitate up at the dais, we're going to look at Alderman Kennedy's Board Bill 187.
You leaving?
I know.
Good afternoon, Zach Wilson with SLDC. Board Bill 187 is 4965 through 4975 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. The developer is WM Grand Plaza. They currently own the property already. They're actually demolishing the front part of this and adding a wall to convert it to more of a commercial storefront. Construction cost of $200,000, creates 7 jobs, 11,000 square feet. It's going to be a beauty supply, Paradise Beauty Supply store. 20 parking spots. It's in the Kingsway East neighborhood. Alderman Kennedy and SLDC supports 10 years at 95%.
Great. Questions from the committee? Alderwoman Murphy.
It says it doesn't have any purchase price. Who owned the building prior?
They currently own it. They've owned it.
They own it, and they're just going to put 200 grand into it?
Correct, yes.
I see. Okay. And is it vacant now, or?
Vacant, more like a old industrial commercial building.
Okay,
But they're
okay.
converted to storefronts.
I get
And the owner has construction connections, so that's why the value's lower than we expected.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you. No more questions.
Alderman Gunther.
Zach, I know you're not the developer here, you're just SLDC, but when we have the conversation with the sponsor of the bill, they're tearing down the front of the building to put a parking lot in, and it just seems like in the urban planning, it's kind of better to have the buildings in the front and the parking lots in the back. So I'm not opposed to this project, but aesthetically, I wish we'd stop putting parking lots.
I agree. SLDC does look at those things. The issue is it's surrounded by, on the north side, no, the west side of the building is an old gas station. Across the street is another similar building like this. I think it owns Hollywood Beauty and.
So there's a beauty shop right across the street too?
Correct.
With a parking lot in front of it?
Correct.
And then we're going to put in another beauty shop with a parking lot in front of it.
So.
Not a good look for the city. So,
But
but project-wise, I know this is not your.
It's investment into the city, correct.
All right, thanks.
Indeed it is. And you'll have an opportunity, Alderman, when we come back with the sponsor here to maybe ask him about those questions. Anyone here in support or opposed to this? We'll see none, so we'll consider this bill heard. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Let's move to 17, Alderwoman Davis, Board Bill 199. If we could get someone to just quickly speak to the high points of that. Almost done. Saving you for last, Dan.
Board Bill
Thanks, buddy.
199, 3,000 Locust, developers Midtown L2 LLC.
Where's this one at?
They bought the property for $1.1 million. They're investing $4.6 million. There'll be 17 apartments, 5 commercial units, and 8,100 square feet of office space. In the Midtown neighborhood, John ran the numbers. It scored well, and it got scored a passing grade. 10, and it receives 10 years at 90%. It's Clayton Redevelopment Corporation that's moving from Clayton to this location, occupying the 81 square feet, collegiate development. So it'll be new jobs to the city, plus whole new apartments and commercial units.
It's 10 years at 90%. Okay. Questions of the committee? Alderman Murphy? Alderman Murphy? Questions? Alderman Gunther?
Do you know if this wasn't the building that had the fire in it, was it?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, yes, this is right across the street from Small Batch, and, okay. All right, no questions.
Zach, who did you say the developer was?
The LLC's Midtown 2, but the group that's moving, that owns it, and will be basically occupying collegiate development.
Okay.
They're doing some other development in Central West End.
Great.
They are currently located in Clayton.
Got it. Okay. Anyone here to speak in support or opposition to this bill? None. We'll consider this bill heard. Go to Board Bills 78 and 97, please. Alderman Moore.
Yeah, it is.
I know, sorry.
No one's been in contact, I guess, with Alderman Moore on these?
Alderman Cohn has, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he wants them heard.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Because I was unclear to me whether, where he was on them. Okay, that's
Yep.
great, perfect.
All right, good morning.
Just the two of us.
And we have two.
And then there were two.
Amina Wright with St. Louis Development. We have Board Bill 78. This is the former Turner Middle School at 7615 Billups, located in the Greaterville neighborhood. The developer here is the Lutheran Church Commission. They've acquired the property for about $400,000. They would like to renovate the building for residential or mixed use. You're going to have some senior living apartments as well as a daycare on the lower level. The construction cost is estimated at $13 million. And here the board is recommending 10 years of full tax abatement. Any questions?
You're up.
Well, I guess I will, since I'm here. I'm familiar with Turner Middle. It's been vacant a long time, or closed for a long time. So I love to see these old, beautiful school buildings being used in any neighborhood. So I'm excited. I hope it works out real well. Thank you.
Thank you. So my question is, because this is a $13 million project, why do we not have like the full, is there a reason we don't have like the full, like that sheet with our stars and stuff?
Actually, this is One that- It's a pretty old project, and CDA is running, I think it's getting some money from CDA and some other agencies that already kind of monitors the caps on it, a lot of the funding. So it's one that kind of, John didn't run the numbers, and it's one that we kind of okayed it because the sources of funding doesn't allow certain things to happen. Certain caps on the profit and all those type of things.
So, okay, and since I guess since it was a school?
School.
So since it was a school, property taxes are zero.
Correct. And
So we're essentially just giving them zero property taxes for
Oh,
another?
no. It'll be a dollar value put on it once it comes off the rolls.
Okay,
And it'll be frozen at that rate, pre-approved that rate.
okay. But we don't have any, is that in the bill itself, or what it will be, or?
That's just how it normally happens.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% in favor of fixing up an old school building and also in favor of adult daycare for 17 apartments. Everything I support on it. I'm kind of just wondering because it's for a large project, there's
Right.
not as much information as we have on our other over $1 million projects, so.
This is about 6-8 months old. We'll make sure John runs numbers on it.
For the vote?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. We don't have much info here.
No questions from you? You're set?
We got it? Yeah, we did it.
Perfect. Anyone here in support or opposition to this bill? Board Bill 78 has been heard. We'll move to Board Bill 97 from Alderman Moore.
Which one?
97. Right? Correct. Thank you.
All right, Board Bill 97. We have a few vacant lots, well, not vacant lots, 4338, 4341, and 4345 Evans. This project is in the Vandeventer neighborhood. The developer here is Rankin Technical College. They would like to construct 3 new single-family homes at about 3-bedroom, 2-bath, each averaging about 1,600 square feet. The construction costs are around $250,000, and the asking price for the homes are estimated at $130,000. This project will, the staff supports 10 years tax abatement at 90%. And I believe we have the well, maybe we don't. Okay, any questions?
Okay, any questions? Alderwoman Murphy.
No questions. Thank you. Looks good.
Alderman Gunther.
So these are going to be houses that are built by Rankin students, sort of project?
Yes, they've done several homes in this
Yeah.
neighborhood already.
I like those projects. Thank you.
Yes.
No questions.
Yeah, those are good projects.
Yeah.
I would agree. Anyone here to speak in support or opposition to this bill? All right, consider Board Bill 97 heard. Thank you. We will move now Board Bill 186. Our last one of absentee aldermen.
We're holding off on 83.
Sorry?
83, we're
Yes,
scratching.
83 is being a hold. Sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier.
Board Bill 186, 3861 St. Louis Avenue. Developers Charles Kirkwood is buying the property from LRA. Construction cost of $838,000. Plans on building a dry cleaners. It's in the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood, Ward 3, Bosley. And SLD supports 10 years at 95%. Mr. Charles Kirkwood's here if you have any questions.
Good. Mr. Kirkwood, do you mind coming to the dais? In case. Questions from the committee? Alderwoman Murphy.
So the lot, it's currently vacant,
Yes, ma'am.
and you're going to build what that is up there?
Yes, ma'am.
That-
We're moving across the street from the old cleaners and building on a lot that's was owned by the city, and they've been working very closely with me to do this project. This is a project that's probably going to cost about, total about $1 million. And what it does, we want to stabilize the neighborhood. As you know, the cleaners that they're now been on the corner for about 55 years, and it's been there. And in the city, now we don't have a full-service cleaners within 5 miles radius of where we want to build a new one. And the city is certainly want to help us stabilize the neighborhood for business. And once we stabilize the neighborhoods, then there are other things that can be happening. They got a lot of nice four-family flats there that can be renovated and all those kind of things. And that's what we want to do.
Okay, no, I wish you the best. Thank you.
Alderman Gunther, questions?
Yeah, thank you for being here. Just because I mentioned it on the last project with the parking lot. So this is right at the corner of St. Louis Avenues and Van Deventer, which, looking at the map here, you've got these really nice, on the two catty corner, these nice storefronts, brick buildings up in the front with parking not on the front of the building. And it looks like on your rendering here, you'll have a parking lot in the front. Is that parking lot going to be on the St. Louis Avenue side or the Van Deventer side or all the way around it? Or
The parking lot is going to be on the Van Deventer side.
on the Van Deventer side?
Yes.
Okay. And then you have another gas station catty corner from you.
Yeah. And of course, that, if you know, that's probably one of the highest crime corners in the city of St. Louis, one of them. And I think this would do a lot to help eliminate some of those problems.
Yeah.
And with the old building that's existing there now, because it's not a historic building, we want to tear it down and convert it into for ice cream parlor and another three small bays for people can rent right there. We have no intention of selling cigarettes and alcohol and that stuff. That's going to be a really clean
Which one is it that you want to tear down? Because across the street looks like it's a daycare.
Yeah, that's what it is, existing cleanness.
Is that the old daycare here?
No, not the daycare. You look, the daycare is
I
south,
see it.
but
Yeah, I
this
see it
one
here.
would be west of.
Kirkwood Cleaners, there it is. Yeah. Are you going to try to tear that building down?
Pardon me?
The Kirkwood Cleaners is across the street from you want to tear that down?
Yes.
Oh, nice looking building. Okay, I think it's, good luck with it, and hopefully it'll work out for you. That's a nice looking building here.
All right. No questions for me. Is anyone here in support or opposition? Look like it. Board Bill 186 has been heard. Thank you, Mr. Kirkwood.
Right.
I'm up. All right. Mr. Gunther, last but not least, Board Bill 211.
All right. How's that one not historic?
Question. It's on the national register.
There you go. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the remainder of the Neighborhood Development Committee. Alderman Murphy, thank you for being here to hear this bill. Board Bill 211 is for redevelopment of 2821 and 2823 Iowa Avenue. This is in the Benton Park West neighborhood. The MVA of this area is an F. So it is an area that I'm trying to get some development in. I will mention that one of the biggest challenges about this property is, if you look on this map here, the backyard of this building is pretty much on Gravois, and then you have a quick trip across the street, not in the 9th Ward, but it makes it kind of a challenging little triangle of the Benton Park West area where I'm trying to get some development done. The building was a 4-family rental. that had quite a few issues. I believe it was condemned, and maybe even Project 87 before we got the developer in there. But it's been a little bit of a challenge. So we have a developer now, Daryl Brown, that was able to purchase the building for $75,000. He's putting about $250,000 into the construction costs of it, and then he's going to sell them out as two condo units, or townhouses, essentially. So. And the other thing I will mention about this is that according to our map, which I'm happy that we now have a map, but on the map, this property qualifies for 10 years at 95% abatement. However, I like to see, scale things down, so we have asked for a 5-year at 75% abatement. So with that, I will take questions.
Okay. Alderwoman Murphy, questions?
Thank you, Chairman. Are you familiar or have you worked with the developer before, sir?
He's done, I think, 3 properties that I've done with him so far.
And you're okay with the end product, so to speak?
The end product is decent.
Okay.
Yeah.
You hesitate.
Yeah, I hesitate because he's done quite a few projects where I said, no, it doesn't qualify for, or I'm not willing to give you an abatement on it. Houses in Benton Park.
Okay.
And then he's come at me quite a bit with how I can justify that on some big projects. So, but this project, I said, sure, this one will qualify. So. Okay. His end product is good. Yeah, he just he asks me a lot of questions when I tell him no on abatements in areas in Benton Park. So
That's all. No more questions. Thanks.
no.
It's going to be 2 townhomes, Dan?
Two townhomes.
Is it currently a 4-family?
So it was a 4-family, but there were, like I said, there was the one was condemned. We had quite a bit of police calls for service to the property. It was a struggle because, like I said, it's right on the backyard's on Gravois, and you cross the street and you got a quick trip there. And then you can kind of tell from this map, but there's a vacant lot both to the north and to the south of it. So we've been working with a developer actually on putting a new construction house on the lot on the south of it. The lot that's on the north of it is a really strange triangle. It's one of those like triangle Gravois sort of lots. There, for a short minute, Ameren wanted to buy the triangle and put in a power substation sort of thing, but I said no to that because it would really be a bad entrance to a residential neighborhood. So we're working on some more like garden sort of issues for that triangle, maybe a fruit orchard or something. So, but
okay, yeah. Excellent. The developer owns it now?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
No further questions for me. If anyone's here in support or opposition, sign up. Doesn't look like it. We'll consider Board Bill 211 heard as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman. That concludes us today. We will adjourn the Neighborhood Development Committee. Thanks, guys. Thank you.